Hello and welcome once again. This is Jennifer, and as always, I'm very thankful you're here. Today, I have a new technique for you that allows you to take older products you might have on hand already and get a new look. I love to stretch my supplies like this. I call this technique a filled embossing folder technique. Basically, we're using an embossing folder, flipping the cardstock over and filling in the dimension with glitter paste or different products like that to get a new look. It's super fun and very easy. I have lots of examples for you. Let's get started by doing a bunch of backgrounds with this technique. Any embossing folders will work, three-dimensional or regular, doesn't matter. The first one I'm using is one of my new favorites. It's the Simon Says Stamp Snowflake Visions. This is three-dimensional with a lot of beautiful detail. I'm using regular cardstock for this. You can use whatever you have on hand. Now for three-dimensional embossing folders from Simon Says Stamp, I use my spellbinders. I use the regular platform, a metal shim, a folded piece of cardstock, and then the embossing folder. That's all you need. And you can check their website. There will be instructions for other die cut machines also. These should work with any die cut machine you may have. And check out that beautiful result. So gorgeous. I wanted to show you something fun you could do with this instead of just using as is. And that is to fill in the little valleys or indentations with some sort of glitter gel, glitter paste, regular paste, whatever you want. So I flipped the background over. So the snowflakes are the indentations. And I am spreading over it some glitter glitz gel. This is new from Simon Says Stamp, but you could use whatever gel or paste you may have. And I'm using my stencil pal to spread this across this. And you'll see me do this in a few different ways through this video. I'm very firmly wiping off the excess so that the glitter gel is only in the indentations and the raised area, which is the flat cardstock, doesn't have any of the glitter gel on it. I then can scrape off the excess, put it back in the jar, and make sure that I clean everything right away. And then this background ends up having this glitter pattern because we filled in those embossed indentations or valleys, whatever you want to call them. And check this out, such a cool look, and another way you can use your embossing folders creatively. Love stretching those supplies so that we can get more from them. Now here's another where I used a pink glitter gel over pink cardstock. Now, of course, this technique will give better results with some folders than others. It just depends. So let's do more examples and experiment. This is the new Simon Says Stamp River Damask embossing folder. Love this one. It's so pretty. Let's see what it looks like with the indentations filled with a red glitter glitz gel. So this time I didn't use the stencil pal. I'm just using my palette knife to fill in those indentations and scrape the excess off the raised areas. And you can see I am really not using that much product because I'm scraping most of it off and putting it back into the jar. Now I will say that once this dries, it looks even better because the wet from the gel that's sitting on the plain cardstock, that will dry and it'll look nice and smooth. Let's do another. This time I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Swirling Snowflakes. Now the snowflakes in this are pretty deep, but the swirls are not as deep, but the technique still works great. This time I'm using some blue glitter glitz gel. Now I do think that glitter gels work great for this because the base of the gel is clear and it just has glitter in it. So the whole cardstock piece stays true to color and the glitter just lands in the indentations. But you could definitely try this with like a pearl paste. It will give a pearl finish to the whole cardstock because you're spreading it across it. But the areas where there's indentations, it'll stay there and be deeper there and stand out a bit more. But I tell you, glitter gel works great for this. Okay, this time I'm using a pine branch and I used this embossing folder with craft cardstock and I'm filling it with gold. Now this glitter glitz gel, ThermoWeb has been making glitter glitz gels for some time now. This is a smaller jar from Simon Says Stamp and there is like a foil piece there that you can keep on it and fold back down when you put the lid on just to make it last longer. So there I did the gold. You can see the surface is wet looking, but it will dry. And look at that gold inside of those pine branch marks. It's so cool. Such a fun way to add something unique to a background. And here I did the same thing, but on dark green cardstock. Again, that you can see how it looks a little wet. That will dry, and you'll see that in the examples later on. Now here's a holly branch embossing folder, beautiful folder. I will say I feel this technique works best when the indentations are really detailed. See how these leaves are big? It's harder to fill that area in with glitter, but the results are still good. But a folder like this one, see all of that detail? This one will work really well. I love this folder. I filled it in with pink and check out that detail. I also find that this technique works really well with geometric looking embossing folders like this Kaleidoscope. I've used this one quite a bit, and you can get a completely different look with this filled embossing folder technique. Check that out with the blue glitter inside the pattern, and if I put it on the other side, I'd get a different look altogether. Here is the Simon Says Stamp Pinpoint Starlets. Notice this has fine detail to the pattern, and so that will work especially well with this technique because that glitter gets into those tiny little areas and you can easily wipe it off the raised background. So again, always make sure you're applying to the side where the details are indentations. Now this one you could do either side. This is the Circle Rings embossing folder. The two sides of this are very different looking. And when I fill one side, look at that cool pattern. So once all these backgrounds have dried, I just trim down the area that I like that I'll use on the card. You could use the whole background, but I like to cut out the little area and frame it to make it stand out more on my card. By the way, this is the new mini trimmer from Tim Holtz. It is the cutest trimmer in all the land, and it really is handy to have on my desk for cutting up small pieces. After all, most of my card making are smaller pieces, so I'm really liking this. So here you can see how, when dried, that glitter glitz gel, that clear gel, dries fine on the raised area, the pink cardstock. Now, if you have glitter anywhere you don't want it, on those raised solid areas, the pink cardstock, you can use a sanding block to sand off the extra glitter or just scrape it away with a craft knife. But in most cases, I didn't have any problems, and look at that result. Such a cool way to use embossing folders for a different look. So let's use these backgrounds to create some cards, and I have some other ideas to share with you along the way. Now on this one, I use that River Damask background with the red glitter. And here we have the Memory Box Serene Bird and Branch dies. Love this bird because he's very simple, but striking on a card. And then I also have the Simon Says Stamp Etched Berry Branch. This one works great for the holidays, but also year round. So I have die cut 3 of the berry branch from green cardstock, and I'll glue those together for dimension. And then I also have the bird that I cut from white cardstock. Added some dimension to that too and put them together. Very easy to assemble. Now you don't have to layer up your die cuts. I just like to, especially when I have a fun background like the one we have today. It allows the die cut to kind of stand out against the background. It just gives a more finished look. Now I also used the same embossing folder on white cardstock. Look how beautiful that is. And I'm gluing that to the front of my note card. So this is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. So this will show around the outside edge, and I like that the embossing folder pattern on this will match the glitter embossing folder panel that we'll have at the center of the card. So I'm using the embossing folder in 2 ways on this card. Once as you normally do, and once with the filled in technique that I shared earlier. For the frame, I'm using this new Poppy Stamps scallop stitched frame die set. I will be using this a lot in videos because there are 3 dies here, and each one cuts 2 frames that you can use together or separate. I'm just using the rectangle frame with this faux stitching detail, but remember you can also use the scallop frame with it, again together or separate. So this is one of those sets that I feel is worth the investment because of the many ways I can use it. So I just used the largest one there, the inside rectangle die, and I cut it once from white cardstock and once from gold foil cardstock. Now the gold cardstock I'm using is from Simon Says Stamp. Now I'm gluing this onto the part of my glitter piece that I like the most, and I'll put something heavy on it while it dries. Once it's dry, I can go ahead and trim off the excess, and there we have our glitter panel framed and ready to go on the center of our card. And there you can see how the embossing folder pattern matches on the outside and the inside. Now for sentiment, I used the CZ Design Holiday Silhouettes stamp set and coordinating die. I white heat embossed it on red cardstock, used the coordinating die to cut it out, and glued it right to the bottom of our frame. I really like this set because it has those dies to cut out the sentiment, making it easy to add. Now I'm putting glue on the back of my layered berry piece here, and I'm gluing that into the frame, and then on top of that, I will add the bird. By the way, that tool I'm pressing my die cuts down with, that is the pressure tool that I use on my Misty stamping tool. I found that it's really helpful for pressing down my die cuts when there's glue on the back to help them really attach to the background. Now for the little berries, I'm using Your Next Stamp gumdrops. I love these gumdrops. They're nice and flat, just a little bit of dome to them. And they have adhesive on the back, but I still use liquid adhesive just to make sure they stay put. Now I thought it'd be fun to also use the embossing folder on the flap of my matching envelope. So I put the flap into the embossing folder. Then I run it through my die cut machine just like I did before. And this gives the pattern on our envelope, which really helps to pull everything together because now the envelope matches in color and texture to our card. So here's a look at the completed card. I like that I was able to use the embossing folder in many ways here on the envelope, on our background, and for the glitter fill-in technique. By using the glitter and the shiny cardstock and these colors, I gave it a holiday feel, but you could definitely change this up and maybe use pinks and like little maybe blueberries or something else and give it a spring feel too. Now I liked how that card turned out, so I decided to do one that's kind of similar. This is using the craft cardstock with the gold glitter filled in. Now in this case, I made the frame from craft cardstock too, just so the gold glitter in the background would stand out a bit more. For the main die cut, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Etched Delicate Frond die. This is a new one. Look at the beautiful shape of that and how intricate it is. I glued 3 of those together from green cardstock and added that to the center of our frame. And once again, I have a white die cut bird to add on top. I used the Simon Says Stamp Peace, Love, Hope, Joy die, and I cut that from red cardstock, but I cut off the word peace so I could just add that word alone to the bottom of the bird. So remember, you can change your word dies to give different greetings. From this one, you have peace, love, hope, joy, and you could cut those all apart and have 4 different words. I did add some gold gemstones and again use the embossing folder on the flap of the envelope. And I used the embossing folder on the white background too. So here you can see the detail in that green die cut, the detail of the glitter in the background from the filled in embossing folder technique. And it's just a fun way to add new texture and shine to your card. Now this next design, I wanted a lot of the background to show because I really like the results of this one. So I glued it to the bottom of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. And right above that, I'm gluing a glitter cardstock strip. This is Memory Box glitter paper. They have all different colors of glitter paper and I found one that matched. And it doesn't rub off, which I really like too. Now above that, I'm adding a cardstock strip where I stamped And Joy from the stamp set you see over on the left. Now above that, in the white space, I'm gluing a piece of white cardstock where I used the same snowflake embossing folder. So this time the snowflakes will be raised up here, whereas in the bottom, you have the glitter filling the snowflakes. So the different look between the two, but it's fun to put both on one card so it pulls everything together. So now I can just trim off the excess and use that on a different card. Now for sentiment, I used the Simon Says Stamp Peace die set by CZ Design. Now this has the word peace and the shadow die, but I actually only used the word itself today. I used black glitter cardstock from that. I wanted to show you this. This is one of the Memory Box glitter paper pads. This is the Majestic. If you're looking to get a bunch of basic glitter papers, check this one out. It has silver, gold, charcoal, navy, champagne color, white, all your basic glitter papers in one pad. And I just use a piece of black from that. I also used the Simon Says Stamp Harmony Snowflake die set. You can see that set over there on the left. And I cut 3 snowflakes from the same cardstock I used for the strip there, and that is Hefe Doodle Wild Berry. I'm gluing these on top of our textured white piece at the top. So I put glue on the back, and then I press it down with that pressure tool. I'm finding that really helpful to press die cuts down. I added the piece die cut, which is black glitter cardstock on top, and 2 additional white die cuts behind it so it stands out a little bit. I used the embossing folder also on the flap of this envelope, and you can see how it all ties together nicely. By the way, in my last video, I talked about card designs that are familiar to me, that I like and I go back to often. This is one of them, and it is a great one because on the bottom half, you can really allow an inky background to show, and then just add any word die cut you want up towards the top. Okay, my next background is similar to the last one, but with the blue colors. And I decided to do a really simple design with this because there's so much texture. I used the Snowflake embossing folder on white cardstock, and I'm gluing that to cover the front of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. I then am gluing a portion of my filled in glitter background right at the center. Since there's texture behind this piece, I'm putting something heavy on it to make sure it really makes contact and stays adhered. While that dries, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Dainty Snowflake die set. This is a layered die set. I've used this a few times before in videos, and it's a nice one because it's large and makes a great focal point. I used white cardstock and blue glitter cardstock and glued that right to the center of our card. Now, I've kept this very simple from there on. I just added a Warm Wishes sentiment that's white heat embossed on blue cardstock. And I added blue cardstock strips above and below our glittered panel just to give it a bit of definition. It looks like I matted it, but it's really just cardstock strips. I used the embossing folder on the matching envelope, so we have lots of texture here, but really the card did not take that long to pull together. Now here's another completed card using the dies I've already used in different ways in this video. So I use blue glitter cardstock for the piece so it stand out. I use silver cardstock for the leaf piece and white cardstock for the bird. And this is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card. And I like how the glitter in the background stands out. And by keeping everything else white and silver, it gives a nice clean look. My next 2 cards are very clean and simple, and for this I'm using tags in the bottom right corner of the card. This is the new Simon Says Stamp rounded tag. If you don't have a tag die, you could just cut a rectangle and punch a hole in the top to get a similar look. I also used the Memory Box Holly Bundle die set. Now I used the tag die to cut from one of our glitter holly backgrounds. I just cut out the portion that I liked the best. Remember, this is one that had some wide open indentations, so it was harder to fill with glitter than the detailed ones, but it still worked out well. I added some holly onto it using the holly die set, and I also added some silver cording to the top. The piece Love and Joy is from a sentiment strip from Simon Says Stamp. It's pre-printed, making it easy to add. I used that holly embossing folder on the envelope flap and on the white background of the note card, so that holly branch just ties together between all the different elements. It's kind of hard to see in the video and in the photo, but in real life there's lots of texture and you can really see that holly branch pattern. I also created another one of these using a red. So you can see I used the folder on the envelope, the background, and for the glitter fill technique on the tag. In this case, for the berries, I used Your Next Stamp gumdrops like I used earlier. These are gold and very smooth with just a little dimension to them, so they're great for berries. So I still have all of these backgrounds left over. I wanted you to see what they look like when they're dry. This one's definitely my favorite. I'm saving this for a baby card. I thought it'd be fun for a baby girl card. But look I was able to create a bunch of backgrounds very quickly with this technique, allowing me to change the results of my embossing folders. It's always fun to stretch our supplies and use them creatively because it gives us more value out of the products we have. Now, if you're looking to get a closer look at any of the products I shared today, you can check out the links below in my YouTube description or go to my blog where it's really easy to see the photos of all the cards and little thumbnails of the products. Now, if you are interested in some more embossing folder techniques, I will link to a couple videos here at the end. I thank you for spending this time with me today. I really hope you give this technique a try, and we'll see you again very soon with another video.